Hello, I'm Gary Quinn. Welcome to another episode of Ready, Set, Live. My guest today is an international life coach and speaker. She's known as England's #1 coach, and actually the Daily Mail calls her the Queen Bee of coaching. Welcome, Fiona Harrold.
Thank you, Gary Quinn. I'm so delighted to be with you.
Yes, you know, Fiona, I know that everybody is going through this lockdown with COVID, and many people are, uh, finding themselves in a situation that's really stressful. And you being a life coach, have you found that there's been a panic, a bigger panic, or has it been, and I said this the other day, people are either having a breakthrough or a breakdown?
Absolutely. Well, I think the thing is, Gary, that you've got to actually look for the breakthrough, because it would be so easy to get overwhelmed with a situation and feel powerless. And that's the worst feeling in the world. And when you're in that place of fear and panic, of course, your creative mind shuts down and you stop seeing opportunities, you stop thinking creatively. So that, the truth is, this is a huge opportunity to discipline your mind and to find ways through this, and maybe look for the opportunity. Look for perhaps the gaps that there have been in your business or how you operate, and just how you can create changes that are going to serve you going forward in the future.
Yes. And I know, you going back at your beginnings, a lot of people always they ask me, and how did you start coaching? How did you start? I mean, you have a fascinating story.
Well, I had a dad who was a self-improvement fanatic. He was a salesman in Northern Ireland. I'm from Ireland. He was a salesman, a door-to-door salesman, and he turned himself into the best salesman in the country in Northern Ireland. Okay, it's a small place, but nonetheless. And he worked for the Hoover Company, and literally knocking on doors, selling vacuum cleaners and washing machines. So I grew up listening to Norman Vincent Peale, Dale Carnegie, W. Clement Stone, all these amazing American preachers of positivity. So I had that. Then, of course, I came to London and threw all that out the window and had to start again, really. I was involved in a lot of the political movements, Greenham Common, if anybody remembers that, stopping cruise missiles coming to the UK. So all of these movements. And then I just got a little bit deflated because, of course, I couldn't see any progress or change. So I went out there really looking for a life coach, but before life coaching was invented. And I kept going to all these counselors and saying, hey, I'm fine. I am. I just want someone to pull me forward, set some goals, hold me accountable, help me change the way I'm thinking, my mindset. I know that's the problem. And eventually I found a woman in London who was just way ahead of her time. And she called herself a self-esteem consultant, because this is before the word coaching in this context had even been invented. So it was wonderful. I worked with her, completely changed my mindset, got back to being super positive again. And she said, listen, I think you could be pretty good at this. I became her apprentice. So I began taking on clients. And then eventually the word coach started to come over to the UK from your lovely US. So I remember seeing this feature in the Times, in the London Times, and it was all about this thing that was going on that was sweeping the States, apparently, called life coaching. And this, I remember Laura Berman Fortgang was featured in it. And of course, the founder of Coach U, I'm just trying to think of his name now.
Anthony Robbins? No.
No. It was the chap who was a financial consultant. He was selling mortgages and pensions. And then he figured out that people really needed coaching. So I would really see him as the founding father of personal coaching. His name will come in a second. But the moment I read that, I knew that was exactly what I was doing. challenging people, helping them change their mindset, set goals, pull them forward. Um, and I immediately changed all my sort of marketing and proclaimed myself as a coach.
Yes. And when I met you many years ago, you were swamped. I mean, you were so busy 7 days a week. I never got to really see you much, but I think a good coach is someone who really is accountable, but also listens. And, everybody wants to be a coach right now. But basically, I think it's really more than being just a good listener. I think you really have to move forward in being innovative. Um, right now, that clients are going through panic, or just people in general all over the world, what are you saying to some of your clients to transform themselves during these times?
Yeah. Now, do you mean? I mean, I think that the thing with coaches now is you've got to be very careful because the market is saturated with coaches. When I was launching myself, I was in a very fortunate place because there was literally me and about four other people in the UK. I was especially fortunate because I'm reasonably good at communicating, and I got into the press. So I was featured in newspapers and TV and radio and all that stuff. So I quickly became very well known. But nowadays, you, I think you've got to be more than a general life coach. I think people are more discerning, especially in a crisis like this. They're more discerning about where they spend money, who they spend it with. So I think it's incredibly important that you bring your expertise to the table and you get specific about the results that you can help people get. That's when people will spend money with you, in my experience. Less so, I mean, unless you're Anthony Robbins, of course, less so if you're a general life coach, or Gary Quinn, of course. So bringing specific, tangible results to the table that you can help people get. So now I guess I position myself much more as helping coaches, consultants, authors, speakers stand out and make the money they need and have the impact that they want to have. So I would say get really specific. Don't just brand yourself as a general life coach because that could be pretty tough.
And I think what the other important factor is that they have to be authentic. That is the main thing. Because if you're not authentic, people aren't going to really believe what you say. And if you don't walk your talk, that's a right out the window, and not a belief of them wanting to trust you, because I believe it's really about building the trust with the individual. People right now, I believe, are trying to reset themselves, revive themselves. What are some tips that you can share with our listeners about what can they do if they find themselves in this, I want to say a holding pattern where maybe they lost their job, or maybe their job is not clear and they're trying to actually reinvent themselves?
Absolutely. I mean, look, I would say that we've got to remember that, or take on board the notion that life is all about growth. It's all about growth. And really, the way that we grow is through these challenges and curveballs that get thrown our way every now and then. So I would say really take that on board. Secondly, I would say please do not get isolated, because if you get isolated, you can get swamped by fear, and that is disastrous. You're no good to anyone when you're riddled by fear. So it's so important that you put good support around you, that you feel the support of others. Do not get isolated.
Do you think fear is the number one factor that stops people in their tracks?
100%. 100%. Fear is the enemy. Fear is the enemy, because you can't think straight, you can't think creatively, you make decisions from a bad place. It just completely shuts you down. So, do everything you can to get that fear out of your system. Be very careful about who you're associating with, the environment that you have around you. You know, the great Jim Rohn said, you are the sum total of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. You've got to be very careful. You've got to be careful about how much you expose yourself to the news, because the news needs to engender fear in
Yes.
order to have us watch it and follow it and buy it. So you got to know this stuff. It's a lot about disciplining your mind so that you're conscious and careful about the influences that you allow in, because it's shaping how you think and how you navigate the world. And what I would really say is this: sometimes it takes a crisis to really show us the cracks, because we can put up with stuff. I mean, we all put up with stuff, for goodness sakes, until we're forced to change. You know, it's like they say that the universe, sometimes it whispers to you, first of all, and then it shouts, and then it screams. So I would say, if you're finding yourself being pushed or forced to create a change in your life, maybe entertain the possibility that it is actually so that you can create something better that possibly you've been putting off for some time.
Well, also, Fiona, I think a lot of people are fearful of change because they've been used to that pattern. And when you actually give them the permission to say, yes, you can have this and you can be this, they're like, oh, no, 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 I'm not sure I can do that. And it's not so much, I believe, the confidence. I think it's just the self-awareness of them accepting that they need to step into those shoes. And sometimes the unhappiness comes through, or they're not happy. What would you say for people that you coach or that you've seen that have this chronic unhappiness? What solutions are there for people who, let's say, are just unhappy, whether they're successful or not?
Well, honestly, Gary, I would say that the fastest way to feel better is to actually do something for other people. Honest to God, do something for other people. If you feel swamped with fear or anxiety, think about actually who needs you, what you could do to contribute to others. Because I've got to tell you, it's the best feeling in the world. And I say that because I experienced it most recently and most of all during this pandemic. There's been so much need, you know, in my own village here to help people who are less well off than myself. I set up something called the Coaching Club whenever this whole situation started, to give daily motivation to people. You know, I've never really done a lot of videos, but I felt called and motivated to do Facebook Live 7 days a week, for goodness sakes, and just be of most service. So I promised you, don't take my word for it. Try it. There are going to be people out there who need you right now, and you could be the answer to their prayers. And you will end your day feeling on top of the world with a new sense of empowerment. You will feel on top of the world. So get out of your own way, get out of yourself, and be of service to others, and you will feel incredible.
And I think what's happening right now, and I've noticed this being able to travel and speak in many countries, is that there's been a progression of change. It's been slow, but people are starting to become much more conscious, or they want to break out of the norm that they've been in. And there's a almost like a spiritual revolution that's been happening of awakening. But I think that it just needs, you know, and this is what's great, what you're doing is that you're actually empowering coaches, because there's not enough coaches out there to supply the demand for the world. And I love that when you speak about it in your book, Be Your Own Life Coach. That was a bestseller. It came out a few years ago, but it's still, I have the copy that you gave me, and it's still a valid book that really inspires people to just have a bit of a shakeup, just get it together, you know.
I mean, look, at the end of the day, mindset is everything. I mean, it's everything. So how you think, what you put out into the world, of course, attracts back more of the same. But, you know, I love what you say, Gary, about a spiritual revolution or a spiritual evolution. I completely agree with you. And what I would encourage people to do as well is it not necessarily go back to church or go to church more, but maybe reactivate or activate your spiritual connection. Because honestly, I can say from my own experience, when the going has been tough a couple of times over the past couple of years, I find myself thinking maybe I don't have all the answers to everything. Maybe, just maybe, there's something above and beyond me that could actually have a bigger perspective than me. And I found that just that act of asking, pleading on occasion for answers and insight brought me incredible peace overnight. Overnight. So honestly, please don't take my word for it. Try it yourself.
But yeah,
Activate, strengthen that connection.
But you know that if people start to work on themselves, they start to look at things. But the intuitive side of everybody is always there. The answers are always there. They just haven't really listened, or that their awareness hasn't, aligned to that radio frequency. But I believe that that is the key to be able to discern on where you need to go and make the choices that move you forward. And people are looking for change. I know that I've seen many people who, especially during this time, everything has gone upside down. When you start to see that really shift, and we talk about fear versus love, what would you say to people who are searching for love, because you can't buy it and you have to become it, and there's either love or fear? So how would you frame it for someone that says, Fiona, I'm unhappy, but I'm searching for this thing called love? What would you say to someone like that?
Yeah, no, that's a great question, Gary. And I think you just answered your own question, because you said, we're searching for it outside of ourselves, when in fact we have to be loved. We have to become, if you like, vessels of love in order to attract more of the same. So, we have to become that loving person. And honestly, if we're really stuck and we really can't see the way forward, I think the answer is really to keep asking, what do I need to see? What do I need to know? What do I need to do? Honestly, ask for that higher power to give you that guidance. And what you're really doing is you're activating your higher self. You're activating that seed of the divine within you. You're strengthening that connection to the divine part of you that is divine, strengthening it, connecting even more. I know that might sound a little bit woo-woo, but I only speak from experience and what works. And don't take my word for any of this. Try it.
If I said, Fiona, what inspires Fiona, or who inspires Fiona?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think I just have a drive to be the best version of myself, and to feel that I am, just making my life work in the best and the biggest possible way. I just want to get, when my time is up, I just want to feel like I've given up my all, and, that I've squeezed every little bit of juice out of me and out of life that I possibly can.
Yes.
And that answers your question.
And the other thing that I think that I found with many people is there's an internal anger that has been, let's say, stored up since they were children, and it's almost if you say it's the Akashic records of their soul. What would you say some of the techniques you might help someone and some of your clients on how to get rid of the anger and try to forgive themselves or that situation?
Got it. Yeah. I mean, I'm a great one for trying to make the best out of everything. So whatever situation that we feel angry about, or we wish it was different, I'm a great one for looking for the opportunity in that. How does that experience, how does it befit us? How does it give us, if you like, an advantage like to offer something. How does it, what's the learning in it? Why would we have wanted that experience
Yeah.
in the first place? I like to think in terms of personal responsibility at all times. So on some level, I believe, or I choose to believe, that we chose our early circumstances. We chose our family. We chose where we incarnated and the family with. So I just like to take that position and look at why.
Mm.
What was it that we wanted to learn or master? So I find that tends to help.
What has been Fiona's biggest challenge?
Honestly, I think my biggest challenge has been how to make my life work, how to fulfill my ambition, my sense of ambition, the drive that I have, actually without driving myself mad. Because I got to a point about 5 years ago, where I got very tired of hustling and pushing at life. I wanted to get places. I wanted to make a certain amount of money. I wanted to be, comparing myself to others as we sometimes do. And honestly, I got to a point in a day and a moment 5 years ago, 15th of April, 2015, I honestly got sick of myself. I got sick of hustling. I got sick of that competitiveness that was driving me. And I just got to a point of throwing up my arms and going, I don't know what I am missing. But whatever is out there, whoever's up there, I am so willing not to be right. I'm giving up being right. I don't know anything. How's that? Help me out here. And I have to say that the next day, thank God, I started to feel completely different, and I started to be completely different.
Yeah.
Look, I can't say I had some angel come through the window and speak to me directly. That would have been nice. I didn't have some big voice during the night, but I did definitely start to feel completely differently.
Well,
I had this peace.
sometimes we're forced to work it out ourselves or to find the solution. But if you listen, it will all show up. And one of the things, I had the same thing, an epiphany, probably a year ago in Osaka, Japan. Same thing, running, doing all these things, teaching, going to city. I never felt like I was home. So one day I'm on a 60-story building at like sunset, and I have this epiphany. You could touch the clouds, and it said, higher powers said, just relax and do nothing. Just be. And I was like, that's an interesting concept. Just be. So I started to just be from that moment, and I wasn't doing anything. We always have to do. You always have to say, I've got to send this out. Yes, you do have to send, but you're sending with a different energy. And once I did that, Fiona, all these miracles when I got home started happening. I was booked on a cruise. These people that were telling me they wanted to work with me, finally, all these miracles started happening in my work, but also in my personal life. I started to feel really authentic. And I think that's the thing, is for anybody out there. And I've always felt you've been authentic. And even though if we're going through any changes or challenges, we're all in it together. There's no difference between, you, me, or anybody else who's, Oprah or, anybody, any person who is at that level. And I think at this COVID, let's say, realigning, we've had to look at what's really important. And really what's important is just you and me connecting.
Absolutely. And perhaps people connecting with each other more than they ever have done, connecting with themselves and establishing that spiritual connection. Because that's where the real peace comes from. If you want peace and a feeling of love, ASAP, that is the fastest way to get it. It's the place to go for it. You're not going to get it in food. You're not going to get it in alcohol. You're not going to get it necessarily from other people. So establishing that stronger connection with whatever your version of the divine is, of higher power, of God, whatever you want to call it, universal consciousness, that's the place to go right now. I think when the chips are really down, when you feel that you're most desperate, that's the place to go. And it doesn't cost you a penny or a dime.
Have you found during this time that you picked up some hobbies or you started to cook more?
Yeah, absolutely, of course. With restaurants here in the UK being closed and everything. Yeah, absolutely. So, there again, it's a great opportunity to do certain things that you just didn't have the time to do before. Yeah, absolutely.
What's your favorite dish that you can make that you would say, oh, I'm such an expert, this is the best meal?
Oh my Lord, I don't think it's that fancy, I'll be honest with you. Gary, I think it's probably something pretty boring like toffee burgers, vegetables, nothing very fancy, I'm afraid. Thankfully, my son's here at the moment, so
I tried baking probably about 6 months ago, and I made these muffins, and I guess I didn't follow the directions because they were just dreadful. They were called the Corona muffins. They were so bad. I had to, even the squirrels outside wouldn't eat them. I tried to give them away, but they had no taste. It was like crunchy granola, but it was, I think I left something out important. I didn't read, it didn't come from a box. I was just going, oh, a little of this, a little of that. But I tried it, and I'll do it again. I haven't done it again since those muffins, but oh no, I did make some muffins. I take that back, and they weren't that bad. So I'll take another stab at it.
Yeah,
What's your favorite food, Fiona?
oh, wow, gosh, I'm one of those probably really boring plant-based people. I just love all that good stuff, like green juice and protein shakes and toffee burgers. So, I'm a bit boring like that. Really.
I started juicing during this time. I started doing celery juice.
Oh
Uh,
yeah,
and
medical medium.
yes.
Definitely,
And then I
yeah.
would do carrot juice on the off days with ginger and apples. And I did find that it started to, in the beginning, the celery juice tasted a little strange, but then I got into it and it was actually really good.
Yeah, yeah. If you can stick with it, it definitely leaves you feeling really good.
Yep.
Yeah.
Who inspires you musically?
Oh wow! Look at you and all these questions.
I know.
Jeepers.
I'm getting
Wait.
up close and personal with Fiona.
Oh, having to think. Having to think. Let me see. Oh my
Well,
gosh.
you Bono is right down the street in Ireland.
Ah, yeah, 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 yeah. Of course. I mean, I love Coldplay as well.
Yes,
With Martin, I think he's over in your neck of the woods at the moment.
yes.
Yeah, of course. Love Coldplay.
You know who I became a fan of? Adele.
Oh, yeah. Who again is down your neck of the woods as well, around the corner from you.
I saw her in concert and I was blown away. She's so hilarious, so funny,
Yeah.
and just a brilliant, amazing singer, and just so fun. So fun. She brought there was a little girl who was right standing by the stage, and she brought the little girl up and said, "We're going to take selfies so all your schoolmates will be jealous." And she had her on stage taking selfies, and I just thought that was so kind and so authentic. I think the performers who are coming from that place are so real. I became an instant fan from that.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
And she's funny. She's funny. I didn't see her on is it the Tonight Show where she was like co-hosting or
it
something?
was Saturday Night Live.
Saturday Night Live, but I heard she was hilarious and amazing.
Yeah, she has quite a sense of humor. I think we're going to see a lot of her in the movies coming up. I have a feeling.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And of course, her transformation is mind
Oh,
blowing.
she looks brilliant. She's lost all that weight, and
Yeah.
so right now, Fiona, you're doing. I know you have several programs. What are some of the programs that you're teaching? I know there's one that I've seen on Instagram that, and anybody who wants to find out, they can go to your Instagram page or your website, which is brilliant. What is it that you're teaching right now or organizing? I see certain posts that you're doing.
Yeah. Well, I'm doing something at the moment called Limitless Living
Mm.
2021 because I felt it was so important. It's just a very, very low cost um, little bit of a club where once a month we get together. So tomorrow, yeah, but usually the first Friday of every month. But essentially, it's just good old fashioned getting your mindset clear, getting focused on what you want to bring about in your life and what you want to attract. And then I'll have guests every now and then as well, special guests. So it's just so important at the moment to not lose sight of what you want to create in your life, that vision that you want to hold fast to for the year ahead, because there's so much doom and gloom all around. There's so many people in the media telling us how things are going to unfold that it would be very easy to lose sight of your intention and your vision for your life. So that's why we called it Limitless Living 2021. So we've got all sorts of stuff going on at the moment.
Yeah.
We have a private client program, but also we do a lot of low cost stuff just so that we can support people in these times.
Yeah, I love it. Fiona, when you leave this life experience, how do you want to be remembered?
I would love to be remembered as that person who helped uplift people and I guess in many respects help them find their mojo, help them perhaps find a way to connect to their own source of strength within and higher power as well. But essentially, I guess just to sort of remind people of how much power they do have within themselves.
Yes,
Yeah,
and I think
I'm
people
happy with that.
people limit themselves by not believing that they're powerful.
Most definitely, Gary. And that's what we all have to watch out for right now. We could so easily fall down into that place of feeling powerless and a feeling that, we have to just wait this out, wait for things to get better. And then all of a sudden we're in a place of being passive in
Yes.
our own lives. And that's disastrous. No,
Yeah.
we have to always look for a way. We have to always find a way to make things happen, even if we have to change direction slightly, if there's obstacles here, obstacles there. So I'm very fortunate that I grew up in Northern Ireland at the height of the Troubles.
Mm.
And for
Yes.
me, what I took away from that experience was there is always a way to make your life work
Yes.
and never to give your power away to others in authority, others telling you how things need to be, will have to be. So you are the power in your life. You have the power to make your life work. It's very important for us to remember that at this time.
Yes, and I think people, all our listeners and viewers out there, if you'd like to make your life work, go to Fiona's website, FionaHarrold.com, and sign up and get some information. And what's so great about the internet is that they can talk to you directly on Instagram or Zoom or any of it. That's the brilliant thing that's manifested during this time. So I want to thank you so much for spending this time with me, Fiona. I think you have a wealth of talent, a wealth of information to share, and I hope to see you maybe this year in the UK. And I just love you. You're amazing. So all the
Bless you.
best, and thank you for spending the time with us today.
Bless you. Thank you, Gary. And namaste to everyone. Thank you so much for being here. Bless you
Yes.
all.
I'm Gary Quinn. Until next time, keep thinking great thoughts on Ready, Set, Live.